IVM.
Alright, Simplified is where they take stories that you can't understand and make it even more difficult to understand. If you need that in your life, it's called marriage. Simplified, 3 young men with a mission. Their names, Chuck, Naren and Sriket. That's right, simplify their names first. Simplify. New episodes out on the IVM podcast website, app or wherever you get your podcast from. कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative. Okay, it's called Cock and Bull, still here in lockdown, trying to understand why my life is worth living anymore. But in the meantime, this political correctness debate is going on. We've got people, of course, who are stopping free expression. And we've got people who've taken this, for me, political correctness to an extreme, to a point of no return, and to a point where it's just not correct, if you ask me. It's just stupid. And I think that political correctness is like the bastard son of fascism. At the end of the day, when you go really politically correct, it's as crazy as anything else. And it just defeats the purpose completely. The whole idea is to stop people being victimized. But at the end of the day, you've just made the whole situation ridiculous. You know, and I just want to draw the line here as an out-of-work comedian that we have to stand up and say, politically correct, yes. Try not to be disrespectful and malicious, yes. But, you know, you can't have everything in life. Free expression is more important. Let people speak and let people then decide whether they want to hear them or not. That's all there is to it. I've always believed you can just walk away. Why do we have to have hartals and fights and murders and torture and, molestations to elderly men like myself? It's not necessary, although welcome. It's called Cock and Bull.
Are you constantly seeking happiness? Wondering how to make the most of every day? How not to let your inhibitions stop you from achieving your goals? It's now time to get your A game on. It's time to unlock your true potential. Tune in to the Empowering series with me, Zarina Poonawalla, to feel empowered in all genres of life. From behavioral skills to management skills. From health to relationships. From mental well-being to emotional well-being. And of course, your finances. I've got you covered. With these tips and tricks from me, Zarina, and true life stories from my amazing guests, you're bound to bring your purest to the table. Tune in to the Empowering series with Zarina Poonawalla every Thursday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Amit Doshi, recovering internet addict, and Silvery, depressed soul whose friend, maybe girl or boy, we're not sure, is leaving for Indonesia in 48 hours. So he's under a cloud of gloom.
So what brought on your rant? Was there an inciting incident?
No, I'm just, look, again, I don't want to try to things like Black Lives Matter or whatever. We've reached a point where everybody is very careful now. Everybody wants to not offend. What's the point of doing any comedy anymore? You know, the whole idea is just to have fun. And then at the end of the day, you know, you can't just keep painting lines and say stay in your lane because it's ridiculously stupid.
No, I think stay in your lane is a dumb thing to tell anybody, right?
But that's what it comes down to. We can't make fun of the people with, you can't use the word handicap, for example. So you can't make fun of that whole, physically able, physically challenged, mentally able, mentally challenged. I mean, the words take half an hour to get out of your mouth. I mean, it's all hypocrisy at the end of the day. It's pointless, I think, you know, because you're just doing it because you're told to do it. But it's not like you actually care enough. If you care enough, I understand. So, I mean, there's no point to it. Every little lobby, every little group, if everyone takes offense, either we ban comedy or we put people behind steel bars. You know, we've got like the performance is done inside maybe like a tank, one of those famous German Panzer tanks or whatever, and you have people outside. So that if they take offense, they can't do much harm to you. They can just bang into the tank and hurt themselves. I don't understand how we can have both. You know, if you want to have both, you want free expression, you want creative license, you want people to talk, you know, okay, you want to draw some line somewhere, I understand, because it's a civil society and you don't want it to be complete anarchy, I understand. But this is nonsense because everybody puts their hand up and says, oh, please don't insult my elbow. We have people with an extra skin on our elbow and we do not want you to ever point that out in public. It pains us. So I don't know. Silvery, for once, is paying attention, so he understands what I'm saying. As a young comic, he's going to have to spend his whole life going on stage with the do's and don'ts. I got this for the corporate show that I'm doing right now. The do's and don'ts I mean, okay, firstly, why do you say stupid things like don't make fun of religion? We live in India. We know that we'll be shot dead. Although between you and me, I love religion jokes. I'm thinking if you want to have a private party and call me, I'll do jokes only on religion. You choose a religion, I'll do improv on it immediately. Hate them all. So I'm just thinking, it comes to a point where you want a comedian, you want funny, but you want, hey, don't make jokes on sex, don't make jokes on politics, don't make jokes on governance, don't make jokes on people with less powers, abilities, height, weight. I mean, where? What? What do we make fun of? Who? How much you just make fun of yourself? People are bored. Oh, Brocha, stop making fun of yourself. You're married. Whoa, big deal. I can't go beyond that. Okay, this is the longest rant ever now. We're not even getting out of this.
No, but it's true. See, there's a lot of truth to what you say, but I wonder what's the solution here, right, for something like this? Because on one side, you're talking about, yes, people should have the freedom to offend people, right? But on the other side, so the place where I have an issue is government action, right? Government should not get involved in this kind of stuff. But a lot of the stuff that's going on right now, this quote-unquote cancel culture that we're seeing, right, on all sides of this matter, cancel culture or bullying or whatever you want to call it, right? This stuff is coming from private people. This is coming from groups of people who are to some degree empowered by social media in some ways, and the fact that media generally is lazy and uses social media as a way to kind of decide what they want to cover on a given day. And I mean, so it's kind of like a mess from that perspective. I think the constituent parts are where you say they are, right? I mean, rarely does the government get involved in saying that you can or cannot do this. Whether, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it rarely happens.
Look, I don't have a problem with a corporate who hires you and says, okay, don't say X, Y, and Z. They're paying you money for their personal event, so you tailor make it somewhat to that. Of course, if it reaches the point where you think, okay, it's absurd, you can put your hand up. But that's a private thing. But I'm saying, supposing Silvery is doing a comic album or whatever it's called these days. See how dated I am saying comic album. It's a comic, what's it called? Special. Special. A comic special on an OTT, whatever, and you've got it all lined up and this and that. And halfway through, they say, no, this topic banned. No, this topic can't go on. This topic can't. I mean, at the end of the day, what's the point then? What's you going to talk about? Plants? Before some plants activists turn up, and plants activists will probably be the worst because they've held it back for so many years. We've let the animal activists have their glory. We said nothing. We can't take it anymore. How dare you misspell the bougainvillea? You die tonight, and your mother and father die slowly. I mean, I don't know where. That's
what I'm saying, right? I mean, I agree with what you say. I get that there's a problem here, right? I get that there's an issue over here, but I don't know if there is a solution to this other than evaluation on a case-by-case basis, and that makes for lousy ways of thinking about things, right? That's not giving you like a model.
In philosophy, if you want free expression, actually free expression, and if you really believe in democratic principles and the idea of free thought and all that, you've just got to let people speak. I personally believe even if you're a Nazi sympathizer, as much as I absolutely hate and loathe the idea, you have to be allowed to speak, and that happens in some cases. That's easier to there.
So again, there are two areas which I think are red lines, right? So one is government action, two is threatening violence, right? These are two red lines, right? These are two things which are absolutely unacceptable.
Threatening violence and actually doing violence.
Well, yeah, no. So I mean, threatening, doing violence, all that. I mean, once you get into the actual physical space from the conversational space, at that point you've lost me, right? But having said that, if let's say, for example, we spoke about the Agrima Joshua thing last week, right? I mean, we were talking about that. Now, the reason why it was problematic that she dealt with people who were offended, in my mind, was because it turned into violence and turned into threats of violence. The fact that people who felt that so I don't think that they are right, I think they are wrong, but people felt aggrieved by the joke and wanted to protest against the joke or make a comment against the joke, I don't think that is necessarily a wrong thing, right? I think that's fine. I think the problem became when it turned into violence. I think that's when the issue became, right? But at the same time, now what I'm saying is okay is actually, in my mind, I don't know if it is so okay, because what I'm saying is okay is a mob, an internet mob going after somebody, which I don't know if it is okay, but I don't know, how do you classify that? How do you kind of how do you make distinctions over there between
it's a
things?
Tough one.
Yeah.
It's a tough one because it's violence. It's violence without the physical assault, but sometimes it's worse.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you, I was speaking to, I shouldn't say this, like a private conversation, so I'll say his name really softly, Rajiv Masan, and he was very upset about people attacking him over this whole issue, what issue I'm talking about, about a certain actor. And, So, but his whole worry was like physical assault, because he was assaulted on the internet. And this happens whenever there's some sort of controversy and people take sides. So that assault, actually, I saw him and he looked worse for wear. He looked like a guy had been beaten up. So it's not just about actually physically beating somebody up. You're wearing them down. You're destroying the spirit. And the spirit is the key thing here, So all I'm saying is
But then, Cyrus, as a free speech advocate, isn't your answer, whenever somebody tells me about controlling speech, right? I'm a free speech advocate, right? And I mean, so whenever somebody...
you're a podcast guru. You have to be a free speech advocate.
I absolutely am. I absolutely am. I absolutely am a free speech advocate, right? But my this is always, whenever somebody talks to me about challenges with free speech, my response to that, or when somebody says, how can you insult like this? How can you say something like that? My response is the correct response to something that aggrieves you in speech is more speech. Correct. Right? The correction is more speech. Now, what is happening to Rajiv Masand is more speech. Now, is it fair? Do I like it? Do I think that he deserves it? No.
It's collective assault, which is the problem.
But it is more speech, right? And I mean,
it is technically from the tribe of what we are saying, and so we sound hypocritical. But it's a collective assault, so he can't handle it. Like if I was assaulted for this podcast by 1,000, 10,000 people, I can't randomly answer and take them on with their different points of views, all insulting my lineage, my mother's relation to me, my father's relation to me, those kind of issues. So I can't take everyone on physically, logistically. It's a nightmare. So it is an assault. And then you start thinking, oh God, how unpopular I am, how people don't like me or get me, or am I wrong? Did I do something wrong? You can imagine what all goes through the person's mind. It's happened to us once or twice on a television show where we got really attacked, and you do feel a little scared on many different levels. So it is an assault. For me, it's assault and battery with extra batteries. But you're right. So it's in a way we're saying, let them talk. So they're talking. So take it on the chin and accept it. But
that's what I'm saying. I don't know how you make a distinction over here, right, between these two things.
I think we just have to we have to cop it. Honestly, we have to cop it as long as it's not violent.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, one of
abusive, because abusive for me, Amit, is not free speech. Abusive is just asking for a fight. In some way or form or the other, because you then disrespected the whole idea of conversation and debate and discourse.
So sure.
Then that's not free speech. That's beyond banter or even sledging. That's just abuse. So abuse is a version of violence.
But what do you mean by abuse then? I mean,
how Ben Galis and all that start. What is the point of but that's what happens. Please understand, one of the reasons why people, when they're told, remember Rajdeep complaining, because when they start abusing mother, father and all that, I mean, what's the point? It's not even a logical argument.
No,
one thing to say you're left and I'm right and you're anti-India or whatever, those are views.
Right.
You're right to say it, and it's still upsetting. But when you start saying your mother is this, your father is that, even though sometimes it's true, you shouldn't. For my matter, that's abuse which goes into violence.
It is. Well, yeah, so I guess... So then
it's a little open debate here.
So then that's the question, right? Does violence start incorporating verbal, right? Because if you start verbal, you start including verbalized aspects in violence, then at that point in time, that, a lot of people are talking about things which we would not consider to be violence. They're calling it verbal violence.
That's what I'm saying. This is a new world for the last 40 years. Yeah. We need an internet sort of minister and ministry which is separate worldwide, like a global forum, and decides, okay, if we have to have something in place, this is what it will be. Okay, so just to stop the anarchy. But you're right. Philosophically, deep down, if you want free expression, you've got to cop everything. As long as they don't lift something to burn your house down, but that ancient Pakistan and India is testimony to that if you lose a match. But I just think as comedians, the younger one, Silvery's generation, the one that comes after that, they shouldn't be stuck into edit mode the moment they sit at their laptop. Because I have a feeling that once you start censoring yourself, when you're young, if you look back, most of us when we're young, we're bold. Our balls are, the size of cannonballs, and sometimes actually fire off like that. And then, that's the time when you should be completely bold with your philosophy, your mind, your conversation. That recklessness of youth, you shouldn't kill that.
I was watching this documentary, since you brought recklessness of youth up, and I'm going slightly tangential. Watching this documentary yesterday, the Defiant Ones, right? It's Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. And I'm like, as I'm watching that documentary, I'm realizing the ages of some of these people at the times when things happened. Tupac Shakur was 25 years old when he got killed, right? And this was a guy who had been shot like 4 times before that, who had put out a hit record after hit record. He was in the news all the time. And I was just like, he was 25 when he died? That's insane, right? I mean, you look at some of these kinds of things, and you're right. I mean, when people are that young, the kinds of things that they can accomplish are kind of, insane.
It would be a travesty beyond all travesties if those minds and those spirits are silenced in their early 20s or less. Yeah. I mean, if you break their spirit, then where do they go from there? I mean, now at this age when we're working, we've started thinking like this for the last 4 or 5 years. Careful of this, careful of that. I really think that I wish there was another department that did that. You just wrote or you just did your thing. Like we do the podcast, we're not holding back. Whatever we say, we say. And then somebody comes and says, okay, we have to cut this or ping, ping, ping all over the podcast because that's our department.
Right.
Not to say that you don't want the responsibility, but I'm just saying as a young mind, you should be free. That freedom,
you should be.
The greatest personalities, the movers and shakers, the people that change the world, take it forward, lead to some sort of progress, artistic and otherwise, comes from the fact that they're unbridled and there's no fear. That fearlessness will come with age, whether they like it or not. It just will. The moment you have stress of paying bills and family and all the taxes and then, of course, government on top of you, opposition, trolling, a woman who's after 25 years found you on Facebook and you left without saying goodbye, even though you had sex for 15 minutes while she was drunk. All this will come back to bite you in the ass. Silvery, I'm warning you as an uncle figure. I'm older than your father, but younger than your mother. But unfortunately, I never met either. So I can't tell you what our relation is. But I'm warning you, be careful. Okay, do not get cynical and negative because they're trying to kill your heart. Then they win. They really win. Right. And let them beat you. Take the beating for the team. The others will then get something out of it.
Yeah, and you might want to speak after 20 minutes.
Yeah, you might. But if you're Silvery, you're always going to come second. If you were Goldie.
Okay. Yeah, so you do remember my brother's name is actually Goldie, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I love it. Goldie, Silvery, and we don't have a third place in our family.
No Bronzy.
There you
go. But you're so right, man. The thing is, the moment you're scared of getting this feedback is when you stop being creative, right? So you should never give in to that fear. If you want, fine, give that apology just to satiate them for now, but continue doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Is what I feel.
History and comedy, just to segue for a second, it just allows you just thinking from just the freeness of your mind there on that, it just gives you another whole channel to think about. History and comedy. I remember once just reminiscing, if we were in a war, what would happen, etc. India-Pakistan war was going on. And we wrote a lovely sketch, which I thought was really lovely. Just the idea of lunch. Okay, now, if you can just think about, if your priority is lunch and you're stuck in a war, I mean, where does it go from there? Do they break at the exact same time? Are you allowed to eat this, that, and the other? Do you get cutlery? Do you get dessert? Do you want to have less carbs because you go back to fight? Is there a siesta break? So I'm just thinking, these are the things that a comedian must be allowed to, look at. And then, of course, historical figures fall out of that as well because then you have context, etc. in your comedy. So why would you stop all that? I mean, Blackadder, which has lots of historical context, is one of the greatest, if not the greatest show I have ever seen. And I have seen naked women in every country. But that's come second. I'm just saying, but that's what's going to happen. See, you're going to edit a subject. You understand the fear here. You're going to say, I will not touch history. I will not touch civics. I will not touch governance. I will not touch law. I will not touch a certain controversy that's going on right now. How can you not touch that? If Vikas Dubey was murdered, he was murdered. We've got to get into it. How can we say, we don't know about that? Well, let's not get into that.
So that was interesting, right? I heard the episode that you did with Amish, right, a couple of weeks ago. And you were talking about how kings of India are not remembered, right? I mean, like, besides Delhi-based kings.
He's a North Indian bias. His things is, exactly.
No, but I think I don't think it's just a North Indian bias. I think it's also a cultural bias. It is what is the dominant culture of the day and who are they talking about in different ways, right? So, like, one of the interesting things that, so we're in lockdown, right? I've been watching a ton of shit, right? So, like the Defiant Ones, I also saw Hamilton. It's on Hotstar, Disney Plus. It's fucking awesome.
Does it work like that? Not in live?
It is awesome. It is like, I mean, like, seriously, I watched it again. It's that good. And I'm not a musical person.
Trump as a gift. In the era, so that really helped.
Yeah. Well, that's true, I guess. Yeah, but it is incredible, right? But while I'm watching it, like, one of the things that so the guy who made it, Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? He was talking about Alexander Hamilton and why he chose to make a play about Hamilton, right? Yeah. So there was a book written about him. But the fact is that even though he was one of the foremost, in terms of action during the American Revolutionary War, he died young. And because he died young, the amount that people knew about him at that point in time, people knew that he was the first Secretary of Treasury. But beyond that, they didn't know how much he did in the Revolutionary War, how important, how critical he was. And the reason for that is because he had no presence in pop culture. right? And if you look at India just generally, right? I mean, like, I think that is a big part of the reason why. And it's one of the things I worry about, like with this kind of thing, right? With the Agrima Joshua thing that we spoke about last week, is that if you make it such that Shivaji cannot be mentioned in any cultural thing, and that's exactly what this was. She did not make a joke about Shivaji. She did not disrespect him. She did not mock him. She made a joke in which Shivaji was a constituent part. That's it. Right. And if we make it so that, if we make it so that we are no longer willing to refer to Shivaji in pop culture because of fear of, having to take stuff down, we are doing a disservice.
Do you know how many sacred cows there are? If you really think about that, if you're scared and you want to look at it, you dare touch Gandhi, you dare touch the Gandhi family, you dare touch the present Prime Minister or any of the big guns from the BJP, you dare touch anybody from the deep past who's revered, one of the great kings. You can touch the Mughals right now, but if the Congress come, maybe you can't touch the Mughals, although they've been a little okay with history as far as we can remember. So where do you end? There's no end. Sacred cows, they fall from all over in India. I mean,
but I think it's also, while I agree with what you're saying, right, I completely agree with that. I think that's also counterproductive to these people's aims, right? They want these people to be revered and venerated in the long run. And if you don't know who they are.
But a joke is much better with the reference to context, the factual setting. If you're telling a joke about a period 400 years ago and you mention the king and this and that, it just creates that imagery which is important for, although the punchline is the guy walked into a bar, but 400 years ago. So, I don't, but we are talking to Philistines. At the end of the day, there's nothing else we can do. I'm just saying, I just hope the good people amongst us, especially in the English comedy world, because it's a smaller market, but it leads the revolution. I just hope that those guys don't, buckle down. Because this girl was fantastic, Agrima. She's shown the kind of, what is the right word? The word that rhymes with halls. That, that we men lack, speaking. And she handled it with a lot of finesse, I thought, in the end, and panache, to use two words that are found in South Indian lexicons only. And I thought it was really nice the way she sort of parodied the apology as well, which may or may not have made sense to the aggrieved parties.
But the thing is, that was just one or two matters. Like those two people who got arrested were just two matters. Right. She's still receiving these threats and this thing on in her DMs.
And then what about booking her and all? Commercially, it'll think about the ramifications are not fair. I mean, then someone will say, I don't want to take a chance. Look what happened to Habitat. Sorry, I love this girl. Great, we'll see her in my private function on the internet, but personally, I will not hire her. And then,
so I think that's always the challenge, right, Kausar? So I think
that's not a fair sentence.
No, I think it is a challenge, right? I mean, it's not fair in this case because I think that the offense was a little, the quote unquote offense, right? Not really offense. But Agrima's offense was somewhat non-existent, right? So, I mean, I think it's unfair in this particular case. But generally speaking, right, I mean, when you make a choice to do political comedy, you realize that you are cutting off certain venues for yourself. When you make a choice to quote unquote work blue, right? You know that you are not going to have certain opportunities come for you, right? So I mean, I don't think that is I mean, the thing over here is
you don't understand, in India you can get blacklisted literally out of fear because the corporates all follow each other. And if she's a struggling comedian, not struggling, but she's a comedian, you need to get work from everywhere. You can't live on one medium. Ask any comedian.
But then I think you have to be. So again, in her case, she's a bad example because again, she doesn't deserve any of this, right? She doesn't deserve any of the crap. But I mean, let's take for example Kunal Kamra.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I think Kunal's really funny. I like what he does a lot. But at the same time, Kunal Kamra should not be expected to be asked to do shows at corporates.
He won't be on Republic Day special if that's what you're asking.
You cannot expect that. That's not going to happen based on the fact he's a divisive comedian. And so you make choices in some of your content in some ways, right? I mean, you've been great at that, right? I mean, you've been political, but you've been playing all sides of the political spectrum. So you make fun of everything. So you're welcome everywhere. Right. So, I mean, you make certain choices when you do political humor or when you do humor which is of a certain edginess. Right. Yeah. If you have if your most famous routine is just pure sex, you're not going to be called for a corporate gig. I mean, that's just.
Oh, it'll be a very scary one. Just maybe one guy.
That is also possibly true.
Is the boss's son. Yeah.
But I'm saying my point was just that this, right? That basically, I mean, she doesn't deserve the brickbats, right? But I think that's something that you'd see otherwise.
So coming back to this political correctness also, then what happens is the reaction is that you have to be so politically correct that you leave out X, Y, and Z, that you use certain terms all the time. Those terms are so shallow because the intent is rubbish. The person just saying it out of fear. I mean, okay, so that's the way you want it. I don't get it. It's why I don't like the word sir. And I mean, from the age 6, I've been telling people, don't call me sir, because it's a piece of hypocrisy. The guy just believes because he's working for you and he's wearing a uniform outside your building, so he has to say sir and salute you. It's rubbish. Why should he?
I've always thought, sir, whenever somebody uses the word sir to me, I always think it's sarcastic. No, I think it's sarcastic. I always think it's sarcastic.
That's just you're saying that so you feel better about yourself, that, okay, they're looking down on you, so it's not so bad. But the truth of the matter is, people just say it. It's just stupid.
I know that.
Why did they say uncle? Because you're older, I have to respect you so much, you've done so much. I'm going to just beat my wife and come. I'm going to just kill the cat. What the hell are you talking about? Uncle, I have to respect you. You know you're older. It's bullshit.
Man, but I use sir and ma'am all the time. Like, we have guests on our shows who I don't know. So I have to say, like, hi,
That's
sir.
That's a slightly corporate thing where you're trying to greet them on the show. It's a little different because of the formality involved. I'm just talking about general people generally. I just don't know, especially when there's a class divide, because they're presuming that you're better than them or that they need to tell you you're better than them. All this shit has to end.
No, you're right, but Antariksh, I think you're also right? I mean, like, in these situations, sir and ma'am is just shorthand for. See, the thing is that we don't use like Mr. Tucker or Mr. Brocha. We don't use that kind of language in India, right? That's not a salutation we use. So how do you talk to somebody like the one that I cannot use, right? So I used to do the assistant director giri in Bollywood. The one that used to like G. That used to I couldn't.
It sounds hollow when you say it the first time, right? Especially when everybody else is saying it and you try your luck. Krishna ji. Then
I feel like I'm being disingenuous, right? The same way that I feel when somebody's calling me sir, I think they're being disingenuous. When I use the word G behind somebody's name, I feel like I'm being disingenuous. So it's always been that's always been a hard one for me.
I have an experiment. I always tell people, see if you can call me Benchot. Get it out of your system. If you say it once, then our relationship will be better. Rather than, you say, sir, and then one day behind my back, I hate that bench. It's much better this way. Silvery, why are you playing with your mouth? What's going on?
No, nothing. I'm here.
Are you feeling stressed because the girl is leaving? Oh, sorry, girl stroke boy, or whatever.
I mean, for sure, man. It's quite a sad time in this house today.
Also, purely from a point of view of companionship, you have one nice person for company, which one person changes your life. From 0 to like 100, it could be if it's a good relationship.
Yeah.
So now what are you going to do? The pillow, I guess.
Yeah, man. She's going to leave some of her clothes back as well. So I'll dress the pillow up and I'll be
weirdo. Make me up. Oh, lovely. Excellent. Yeah. And give us footage of what you do with the pillow and the mattress. We'll never, ever call you again. Yeah. All right. Are we going to a break or should we do one topic? We've got no topics.
Yeah, let's do one.
I don't know if you guys heard this, that some shootings of TV shows of Indian daily soaps is back on, right? There's a show called Ye Rishta Kya Kehlata Hai, and they came back and they incorporated COVID masks, like face shields and masks, into their plot.
Camera.
On camera. So the entire cast, I don't know if you guys can see this. Sorry.
Yeah.
You guys can see there's a mask the guy is putting on the mask, and apparently there is a scene where the guy kisses the face mask because the girl is wearing it and he has to kiss her through the face mask. So the net has been going crazy about this.
I think that's pretty awesome. I think that's awesome. That's cool.
You can save money. You can use the same, like a spot boy for all the acting now. They change the pant and go do that. I think it's a huge money spinner for producers. Great idea.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. Right? It's a way to keep things going. It's a way to keep people a little more safe.
Isn't the first reality show, actually, if you think about it, are these silly soap operas and TV shows from all over the world? Because they could just change the script as and when they want to and however they want to. Somebody dies, or somebody leaves the show, we kill them, and then they come back, we bring them back to life. It's wonderful. No questions asked. And still a hit show. So I think mask is a small price to pay from a sense of non-reality.
But are you guys fans of MasterChef by any chance? Do either of you watch MasterChef?
I won't say that I've never seen it, but I won't say that I watch it regularly.
So I've recently gotten hooked to it, especially the latest season because of my girlfriend. And so this entire season was shot in the quarantine.
Oh, really?
In Australia, they had most of it was shot in quarantine, and then they came out of quarantine because Australia came out of the lockdown pretty early. But they still are practicing certain level of social distancing and all. So the entire season, they don't shake hands with the judges. They must have
shot outside Melbourne because Victoria is in bad shape.
No, the same building that they always.
But is that in Melbourne or is that in Sydney or Brisbane or where? Nobody knows.
I have no idea.
It's in Melbourne.
Okay, so Melbourne, that's amazing.
Yeah. So this entire season they've just shot during lockdown.
There's a reason behind this, and it's in the famous idiom: "Too many cooks spoil the broth." So the whole idea is that they have too many cooks. If a few go, thanks to COVID, the show will run. I can understand that perspective. Shall we take a break on that stupid note? And then Uncle will come back with proper stories. Okay, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes,
sir, Sir ji, आप ठीक है ना?
जी, पक्का.
2 seconds.
Do you wish you were smarter? Well, so do we. But the next best thing?
We could make you sound smarter.
And to help you with this endeavor, we are Simplified, a podcast that attempts to break down the complex world around you with a little knowledge, a lot of poor jokes, and a ton of random trivia.
Episodes out every Monday.
On the IVM Podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts.
See ya!
And we're back. Yeah, discussing all things. We started with all things bright and beautiful, which is basically freedom of speech. And I don't want to go back to that because we spent 25 minutes on it. But the point of podcasts and things like this, especially podcasts, is that people can really open up and speak. It's beyond comedy or tragedy or point of view. It's just people actually expressing opinions they really believe in. So my daughter's now giving her opinion about something and rushing back. Distracted me for a second. Sorry about that. So yeah, I just want to say that without that expression, the freedom of expression, the free mind, it's a pointless exercise. We might as well then just watch some soap opera with masks, which may be funnier between you and me, at least this episode. Yeah. Okay, Silvery, up to you now.
Okay, talking about freedom of expression, there was a person called actor Kasturi Shankar. She was on Arnab's show, and she started eating lunch while on the panel because she was like, I knew he's not going to let me speak. And so I just went out to get my lunch. I came back and I forgot to switch off my video. And so on the show, Arnab is talking about nepotism and Bollywood and all. And she's just merrily eating her food and having a good time.
Was it Amish? One of our writers did the same thing recently. He was eating his watermelon in London.
Yeah, correct. He was correct. Amish,
no offense there. Now, when you're working from home, in a sense, I think that's okay. It's like Maya coming and interrupting me. These things will happen. We have to just accept it. So how did Arnab react?
They don't say that Arnab.
I don't think he caught it at that point in time.
Did he say the nation wants to know what?
But I actually watched about 5-7 minutes of this particular episode, right? Because it's generally not my, it's not something I watch, right? But I mean, this time my mom was watching it because they were talking about, all, this was just following his interview with Kangana, where she did all of the...
Revealed all.
Well, or where she said what she said, right? I mean, let's call it that. It's a revealed all. Revealed implies a degree of truth over there, which I don't think we should.
Yeah.
But she said what she said. Her truth. There you go. Her truth, right? But Mayank Shekhar was on it. Mayank's a friend. I mean, we've hung out a couple of times, and I was watching him, and it was so funny to watch his he was going insane trying to kind of this, and then I mean, finally he was like, "But Arnab, Bollywood is not a country." It was.
That's a good line.
It was a good line. It was a good line. It was a good line.
As the great poet Mayank Shekhar once said, Bollywood is not a country. It's a system of states. It's a federation, but it's not a country.
Yeah. But, I've watched it. I've heard a lot about this, and I've seen Arnab before. It's not that I haven't, right? I've seen him mostly on Times. I haven't seen him that much since he came on Republic. But I've got to say, right? I mean, when I was watching this thing, I mean, he was acting in what has to be bad faith. He's around our age. Okay, he's around our age, more or less. Yeah. And he was like, what kind of game? So basically, they were talking about on Coffee with Karan, he does Fuck, Marry, Kill, right, as a game. Right? And he was talking about that game. And he was like, what kind of game is this? This is not a game. How can you talk about killing somebody in a game? I'm like, dude, you're my age. There is no, and you went to Oxford. You went to college in the UK. There is no fucking way you've never heard of this game before.
Jimmy Fallon plays on his show. I mean, it's nothing.
There is no way you have never heard of this game before. It was so disingenuous to watch that, right? Because I'm like...
But it's a Wildian thing, a bit of Oscar Wilde there, to take these trivial things in life seriously. So he does that brilliantly, just like exactly what you mentioned, which is, looking at it from the point of view that he does. So I remember an incident in Baikala, a building in Baikala, because I know the building's name, and that's why it stayed in my head. And he was talking about some pipe leakage or leakage with pipes and things like that, and said, we can trace that to a foreign hand. I'm like, it's a building with a problem with their pipes. What is it going to do with bloody Pakistan? Is a plumber coming from friggin' Karachi for this? I mean, what's the... I mean, but it's fabulous. And the gravitas and the intensity and the poise. I mean, you think that the World War III, it's fabulous. But it is a trivial thing about pipes in a building in central Mumbai, which nobody's ever seen. So I think that's a gift. He's got a gift. Whatever you like, you have to watch him when he starts.
Yeah.
The way they took this, let's just call it suicide issue, and the way they talked about it, like these two great sleuths trying to, Sherlock Holmes at his best now with the number one analyst or DNA specialist or, what have you from the FBI who's also working in Bollywood. And, at the end of the day, all you're doing is speculating, but my mother watched every minute of it. Yeah. And that's all they need.
No, same here.
Telling me that your Bollywood camps are very bad. They don't let outsiders. It's so easy. It's like Hindi films from the 70s and 80s. Zamindar bad, poor person good. That's it. Zamindar rapes, murders, molests, exploits. That's it. That's two sides of the coin, nothing else.
No, my mom, same thing, right? She saw the entire thing, and as she was watching it, after she was done with it, she was like, these people are so bad.
There you go.
Yeah. How can his job is done? This?
He doesn't need you to turn around because you never will. He just needs to keep the middle class belt that watches his kind of show, and he's got them still. Yeah. I spent 2 hours trying to explain to my mother that things are grey, they're not black and white. You can't just point fingers and say blame X and Y for everything that happens. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. It's
Sylvie, we haven't spoken about COVID at all. It's almost like a breath of fresh air, not to use a pun.
Yeah, the thing is, I try to search for topics beyond COVID because we end up discussing COVID in the first 20 minutes anyway.
I just want to quickly talk about the vaccine and some of the hyperbole which is going on about the vaccine in the background, Oxford, and I think Adar Poonawalla was in the news and all that. Yeah. There's also a rumor that on August 15 we will unveil the vaccine. I don't know how true that is, but I got a call from a leading newspaper and which said, "What do you think? What is your reaction?" So first, of course, the story is not verified because I think it's a tough act. Uddhav has already sort of messed up by saying May 1st, there'll be no more COVID in Maharashtra. Yeah. After which he's not given a date.
Yeah, but I can't see how we have a vaccine by August 15th. That seems impossible to me.
Baba Ramdev, guys, come on.
Well, yeah, of course. Baba Ramdev can issue a Baba Ramdev vaccine can be available tomorrow. That's not an issue. But like an actual scientific vaccine, I can't see that happening.
No. The Baba Ramdev vaccine is to cure homosexuality. It's now coming out.
Okay.
If you like men and you're a man, pesh karte hai. Give it a good name. Lingo Long. I'm too old to do comedy. I have to find something else. Plumbing. I go to Baikala and I'll fix pipes. I have a leading family, industrial family, who have on record said that they will not step out of the house till a vaccine is found. And I'm just thinking, man, this, the way things are going, who knows when? It might easily cross into next year and beyond that a little bit as well.
So next year for sure, right? Vaccines, August 15th is very unlikely. Vaccine earliest, best case scenario I'm hearing is
November.
Spring to summer next year. That's like the best case I've heard. So I don't know how a vaccine is a thing, because again, you got to trial a vaccine, right? And with the Oxford trials are promising, but they're not complete. Once you trial, you have to set up a manufacturing process. You got to do all that. I mean, this stuff takes time. It doesn't just happen.
And also after, say, UK or Israel or whoever gets the first vaccine out, they get it out, then we need the Chinese to duplicate it, and then the Indians to duplicate the Chinese. And then we get it at a much cheaper cost with a 5%, 7% more side effects. That's it.
But that's a real problem, right? I mean, like, how do you scale up production to get to a point where you can inoculate 4 or 5 billion
countries, people? Not counting whatever ISIS hangs on to here and there.
And so you're going to wind up with a situation where, like, they're literally going to be vaccine wars, right? I mean, like, countries are going to, it's going to be challenging to figure out where vaccines are going to go first after manufacture. Is the country of manufacture going to be the first place that gets it? If India is a country of manufacture, does Indian vaccines come to India first before it go exported? How is that going to work?
It'll be a world filled with cards. You'll have to step on anywhere in the world and you'll have to show your PAN card, your Aadhaar card, your anti-COVID free card, your credit cards. It'll just be card after card. I just think cards are going to be the future. Plastic, little pieces of plastic. So all the anti-plastic campaigners, watch out. We need the plastic. Without it, we're going nowhere. Literally, there'll be software where you'll have to program it so that people let you enter places. I'm just thinking, even a restaurant, just show me your ID, search. Oh, COVID free. Okay, enter. It'll be like that. It's not impossible. I do see people putting things in like that.
Well, I mean, so the thing is that once the vaccine gets to a certain point, then the prevalence of the disease goes down, right? You give yourself herd immunity through vaccination.
No, but Amit, you're talking about once bitten, twice shy here. Please understand, a lot of people have got this fear psychosis which is not going away just with the vaccine, not going away just with the fact that we are COVID-free. They're going to clean their hands forever. They're going to be worried about certain people. It'll be like racism. They're just going to stay there, the prejudices of fear. So I think we can do. That's why I'm encouraging my mother all the time to go for a walk, get out of the house, because she's so scared that I don't see what's going to happen. like a year down the line or whatever.
Right.
And it's not the only one. If you look around, lots of our friends and family members and beyond that are just overreacting to a point where how long will it take to break the fear psychosis and the subconscious effect that they've got? I don't know. I'm a little worried. The good thing for me is that I'm antisocial, so I don't really care. So social distance works for me.
Right.
So I'm happy. I'm happy with my Saluki right here. He's an Arab and we're friends. The lovely Arab.
No, I mean, like, I don't know, man. I mean, like, I don't want my mom going out of the house. Actually, I'm stopping her from going, right? In some ways, I mean, like, go down in the building and walk, but nothing more than that. I don't want you going anywhere else or anything like that, right? Because, again, you know, I mean, like, when you're past a certain age, it is a little more dangerous.
Yeah, but if my mom leaves the house, I get to keep it. So, back in Malwa Hill, this is very important politics that we play from time to time.
I see.
All right.
Okay.
Silvery, what else we got?
We got a very interesting story. This is out from Melbourne again, Australia. Okay, this one is a takeout order at KFC at 1:30 a.m. raised suspicions. It led to a $26,000 coronavirus fine. So what happened was these paramedics showed up at KFC late at night after their COVID shifts to order KFC at their drive-thru. And at the drive-thru, they saw that the previous entry had bought, like, there was a pair of people, but they had bought 20 takeout meals. Okay. And at that point, Victoria in Melbourne was still in lockdown. So that means they were probably at a party or something. Or they were throwing a party at that place.
Oh.
So these two paramedics...
One leads to two.
Huh. Exactly. These two paramedics called the cops. Cops got the license number of the car.
Followed
showed up at the house. And now this article puts it very interestingly. It says, at a house, they found 2 people asleep in a front room. But 16 more who had been celebrating a birthday party were hiding out at the back. So people must have found out, you know how house parties used to be back in the day. You find cops are coming, you hide.
Better spin on it. They crashed the house. The couple is still sleeping. They were having a good time. And then, damn it, all on the watch of the poor couple. Yeah, but this again, I think Amit has discussed this earlier. In America, we had a similar situation, unproven tale about a COVID party, etc., etc. There are idiots, there are buffoons, there are people who are going to organize all kinds of things. Yeah. So while we try to get live sport back and, you know, which is a collective thing, there's also people who just want to hang out. That's all there is to it. And, well, in 1.3 billion Indians or what is it, 7 billion people in the world, something like that?
Something like that. I think just over 7 or just under 7.
So, well, under 7 because of COVID, but over 7 when we started. Not funny. Insensitive.
Yeah.
All right. So anything outside Melbourne, young man? I mean, just could we go? What about Adelaide? I mean, just anything else. New Zealand, perhaps?
But this wasn't a COVID party. Sorry, just to come back. This wasn't a COVID party, right? This was a party. This is just a general party.
Regular party, yeah.
COVID party is taken to another level. But I'm saying the idea of a collective group just socializing and then making it bigger and bigger. I mean, they found 16. Maybe at one point they were 40. We don't know.
Yeah. That's true. I think, you know, you're going to start seeing more and more of that. I mean, like, the longer this goes, the less you're going to start seeing. The more you're going to start seeing people like disregarding like what are supposedly the rules and stuff like that, right? I mean, like, you know, people want to meet people, right? I mean, like, it's tiring to just, like, you know, be by yourself and be with your family and not see other people in person. It's just exhausting.
Yeah, I know. I see both sides of it, but, you know, I think socializing, you don't have much of an argument. At the moment.
Agreed. If you can't work
mass socializing, you still have an argument for work. You have an argument for putting a sport on or other things. These are things on my mind, but there are priorities. But socialization comes last in that. Hence, clubs can't open, for example. Nightclubs can't open. I mean, that's the way. I mean, you just look at it. What can you do? But I do feel bad. I do feel bad for those Melbourneites or Melbourneians or Melbourne Wallas.
Because they met their friends after like 4 months.
I can imagine.
Exactly. You know, that's a good time.
Oh, and Melbourne, let me tell you, for those who haven't been there, is probably the best place to eat food. Every ethnicity is available and in every type. I mean, that's why MasterChef must have collected there. You know, they just, everything. And Aussies love cooking. They're just a cooking people, male and female. It's very tough. I've roomed with 2 Aussies. They all cook. The barbecue, the shrimp and the barbie, although nobody ever actually says that.
Yeah. They do say barbie. You know, MasterChef, they say barbie.
Go my barbie. They don't really say shrimp and the barbie. Some say prawn. Don't even say shrimp. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So that's good. We've done 2 Melbourne topics. That takes care of Australia for 2020.
Okay, I have one story. This is kind of heartwarming and kind of sad. This is from Karnataka. This is a woman refuses to pay bribe for stretcher, drags ailing husband in hospital. Did you guys hear about this? So this woman, the hospital ward boy, so her husband is in like basically on his deathbed or like really in terrible health, and this poor woman was asked for a bribe by the attendant, by the ward boy, to be able to help with the stretcher, to help, like, I'll pull your husband from one ward of the hospital to the other ward of the hospital if you basically give me some bribe. She refused to bribe him, and she is seen, so like some reporter saw her in the hospital dragging her husband's gadda with her husband's body on it, on the ground.
God.
And then they put her on a stretcher, and her little son of 6-year-old is also seen helping this mother. And it just...
Silvery, you open a can of worms here again, because nobody wants to talk about the seedy side of human nature in India, or probably in the world, at the moment when it comes to exploiting the majburi or the hopelessness of the situation. And that comes down to people transporting goods and stuff like that, paying huge bribes because uniformed people are stopping them and saying, hey, hello, I don't care if it's for, emergency or not. This is the way it works. So that's been happening. I've heard terrible rumors about doctors in certain places and things like that, just saying COVID positive so they can get us that grant that they get per case. Money. So there's all kinds of scams also happening, but everybody's talking about the positive feel about how human nature's reacted well and all. But let's not kid ourselves. There's plenty of this rubbish going on, and this evil piece of shit who sees a dead man being dragged and still wants to make money out of that. I mean, what can you do? I wish we could allow urinating on people in public, because that's the only kind of feeling you get immediately. If a person does that, she's lost her husband, a kid is watching. I mean, you let her drag the body? What kind of person?
There are a lot of nasty people around, right? I mean, like, there was this doctor...
How insensitive, I mean, there's a limit. I mean, the guy's dead.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Imagine what the woman is going through. She's obviously not from a well-to-do thing or whatever. On so many levels, she's just fucked. And he's standing there and trying to make a buck on it. I mean, just tell me honestly, sometimes a guy coming and robbing a bank, not the worst criminal. There's lots of money in the bank. If he takes only 10% from everybody, he's still not hurt us that badly. But here, a woman as at the end of her life, in a sense, because everything's taken away from her, she's emotionally distraught, and you still want $50 to which he's lawfully and willfully supposed to do.
Yeah, no, it's cruelty, right? It's not just like, corruption. It's cruelty, and I mean, like, the two things are not necessarily the same thing, right? I mean, like, you can be cruel without necessarily being corrupt. You can be corrupt without necessarily being cruel.
Talk about Machiavellian politics. The end justifies the means. I want to make a buck. Doesn't matter dead or alive.
People suck.
But no one's talking about this. I want one day, we'll wait for this to die down a bit in India to be a happier
place. There are things, right?
Point fingers also at people, Everybody's not been a hero. Everybody's not been great.
So a couple of weeks ago, right, this thing came out where there was, up until a few weeks ago, you couldn't get a COVID test without a prescription, right?
Right.
And there was a doctor who was found who was basically running a prescription mill. Like, without talking to anybody, without meeting anybody. It was like $500, $1,000 a prescription. Just take the prescription, get your test.
School, we used to get the medical certificates from that cheap doctor in, I don't know if you went to the same place.
Yeah. I don't know. So
I mean, did you do that?
So what I remember doing is that you needed a medical certificate to get a driver's license. And so there was a doctor who used to sit outside the RTO in Tardeo. And you'd go to him,
but
basically.
Again, the criminality of that pales in comparison to it when you're talking about people in hard times. You have a pandemic and people suffering. So that just elevates normal corruption to a level of heinous crime.
Yeah. And what this doctor was doing was a little nastier. It wasn't just about running a prescription for COVID. He was specifically doing this for housing societies which wanted to restrict how people could come into the society. Right. So it was basically, if we want to bring your maid in, we got to get them a COVID test before we allow them to come inside. Right. But they weren't doing the same kinds of things for other people. It was a discriminatory housing society, which was being enabled by this doctor who was running a prescription bill. I was just like, it was
the moment he's manipulating the system, it doesn't really matter how. He's manipulating it. That's the way it is. Yeah. Wow.
People
I feel
soft, dude.
That we're too soft, all of us. We're just too soft. These guys, they've got that Genghis Khan gene. They're just ruthless. That's it. Sometimes we need to be ruthless. Silvery, I want more ruthlessness from you. Now, whoever's sitting next to you, kill that person. Just kidding. Joke. Do not troll us. We're just joking. Arnab, please do not ask us why this question is asked on our show. All right? It's a game.
All right. We got anything else?
No, just on that medical certificate thing. But what if the doctor was... I just thought how it could be worse. You go in to get the fake certificate or whatever, manipulated result or whatever you want. But the doctor says, look, I'm a professional. I want to at least feel you, touch you, and then, let you go to see that you're healthy. I mean, it could be like a sex pervert as well. Like, come here, beta, let me check. I'm medical professional. Because I'll tell you, I had the same thing with my wedding. We forgot to get married legally, as in the Pandit thing, the notary and all that. So we called the guy up, and then he came 27 days later to my house. But we had to pay him. Kunal paid a bribe of, I think, 3,000 rupees to get him to come. And he came, and I think I told you the story. And I'm sitting there in my sadra and my shorts, underwear shorts. And he tells me, "Acha, aap ready ho?" I said, "Haan." "Acha, theek se kapre pehen ke aana." I said, "Why? We pay you $3,000. It's a formality that we are doing. We need a certificate. That's all." He was most offended. Suddenly he became a guy who's very, farz nibhayega kind of, I have to do my duty and all that. Hello, you took $3,000 to come at a convenient time to somebody's house. Now it's my act. I'm the producer. You're the actor. You perform and I'm getting married in 5 seconds. I remember Kunal's sister's wedding. He was screaming at the Pandit after some time in very, very choice Marathi to hurry it up. And when that guy said, no, we have all these, Sanskrit things and all which are going on and all. Yeah, but I paid you. So now fast forward.
So that is...
it's corruption in many different forms. Beautiful country.
So the Pandit that my family uses, right? He comes with options.
Oh, beautiful.
What is the length of the wedding ceremony that you want?
This is beautiful.
Do you want a 2-hour ceremony? Do you want a 1-hour ceremony? Or do you want a 30-minute ceremony?
This is it. This is the real India. We have to show the world, man.
But wait. What are the prices? That's 30 minutes the costliest and 1 hour.
No, it's all the same price. It's all the same price. I mean,
it's demand supply. Good question you asked. Demand supply. If your popular position at the moment in society is quick wedding, then that goes up. It's the way it works.
Yeah.
But I totally saw Kunal's point. I was like, why are we? Because it's even the parties have the same problem. The language is something else. Nobody understands what the guy is saying. So with all due respect to religion, it just makes no sense to everybody. They're sitting there trying to look all serious and all that while these guys are walking round and round. But get on with it. We're doing it just from a traditional point of view. Let's not overdo the whole thing. Except for Om, I could pick up a word, not a word. Guys with better Hindi speaking skills could pick up 2 words. So what's the point? Yeah. And above all, they've taken money. So once they take money, it becomes a production that you are the master of and they are the vendor. That's it.
I see. I'm on board.
Yeah.
I agree. You're paid for a service. The service must be provided.
Suddenly all holy on me. Like, religious issue and all that and marriage and sacred. Oh, God. And then my father wearing a sadra and lungi. Kunal sitting there in the dirtiest shorts ever. And then poor Aisha actually dressed up and came up. For whatever reasons. I think that was the worst part. As usual, the men are all shoots and the woman was ready for the party. Anyway, I think that's it. Shall we do the AMAs?
Let's do the AMAs. Hey everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you haven't been following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money and Intel. Their support is much appreciated. Before I tell you about some of the shows that we have for you this week, I really wanted to kind of really point out the incredible efforts of our host and our team. We've been able to maintain most of our production schedule in this lockdown, which is going into 4 months now. And I couldn't be happier with the fact that our hosts and team have been able to kind of just get all of this stuff out so incredibly well. So I just really, really wanted to kind of call them out for that and thank them for their support in this time. And since I spent so much time talking about that, and I want to get you out of here quickly, let me give you a quick update on a few shows that you should check out this week. On Siders, we had Amish Tripathi, really, really interesting discussion, both of them dive deep into history. Monty Panesar was on Edges and Sledges, another really cool show. On Advertising is Dead, Tanmay Bhatt showed up. That was a cool episode. Malini Agarwal, also probably better known as Miss Malini, showed up on Absolutely Right. It's just been an absolutely gangbusters week in terms of like the kind of guests we've had and the conversations we've had on the network. Please do check some stuff out. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me. All right, AMAs with Silvery, the man from Melbourne. Okay,
hey guys, the first question comes in from Avinash Shah. The subject is education woes.
All right.
He says, KM Cyrus, I'm Avinash Shah from Andheri West. Here's a fun question for you. My job requires me to be on about 4 to 5 hour-long Zoom calls almost every day. During that time, however, my son has his online classes as well. We live in a 2 BHK such that I can hear my son's tutor giving lectures during my own calls. It's quite distracting. The sound sometimes even bleeds into my own calls. Let me just say, of course, I love my son. But because of this, I've been thinking about cancelling my son's classes so that I can conduct my own business in peace. I think I've hit the nail on the head with the solution. What would you do in this case?
Well, if it's a serious question, I agree with him totally, because he has to, as the provider, his life is a little more important. The kid can fail a year and still catch up in life, not a problem. So that's where we are. But on a more real note, because I have the same problem. I have 2 kids and everybody's doing things at the same time. And we have the Wi-Fi issues also, because when everybody's loaded up at the same time.
Yeah.
And yes, my son's exam is going on, so he starts screaming and shouting. He threw a chair the other day. All the bad Parsi genes came through. So this is something government has to take stock of, and I want an answer. I want an answer from the government. They didn't plan this COVID thing. What about domestic abuse that's happening, because we all have to share infrastructure which we're not prepared for? I mean, I was never there. First, it's my fault. I only come home late afternoon on a normal day, so I don't come in anybody's way. But unfortunately, this is the way it is. Amit, you're lucky. You have only the mom. But Silvery, what about you in your house? Don't you have the same issue with everybody trying to do things at the same time, especially verbal calls?
Dude, absolutely. Because so the person I'm living with, their family cannot know that I'm staying over also, right? So whenever that person has video calls to attend, I have to be super quiet. I cannot attend other calls.
You found a reverse problem. Okay.
Exactly. So I have to be like very quiet, and that's the problem we have. So we cannot. The problem we have is we cannot attend. Have 2 simultaneous calls going on. If I'm on a call, this person cannot be on a call.
I appreciate education and kids have to be occupied and all that to some extent. But I'm saying, why do they have to not honor the timings? Like sometimes in my daughter's thing, they say 2:45 is the next class or whatever, and it actually starts at 3:05. And then the next one takes even longer. And then instead of ending at, say, 3, they end at 3:30, which I think these flexible timings, they have to end. And B, I think they should shorten the classes, the lectures, because now people are paying more attention. They're sitting here. They're not lounging in the classroom. So 40 minutes should become 30. There are ways to do it. Even the Zoom calls, I think even our shows should be shorter. Everything's too long. Because that's the only way to compromise. We have to, in units of time, give everybody just about enough. I can't see any other way.
Well, I think we've gone longer during the pandemic than we normally do, right? I mean, like normally we were like a 45,
we go longer when we have a free-flowing conversation, just like anywhere in a social setting, it just keeps going and it goes longer. But it doesn't mean it's a good episode or bad episode. Honestly, it's just that we are talking.
Well, let's hope that it is mostly good. But I get what you're saying, right? I think that so I've started scheduling stuff in half-hour blocks instead of 1-hour blocks. Just like when we do the calendar entries and stuff like that, I started making them 30-minute calendar entries instead of 1-hour calendar entries, simply because it sets a different expectation, right? If you're having a conversation with somebody and you know that and we both blocked an hour of time on the calendar, then it starts with, hi, hello, how are you? How's things? How is life in the pandemic? Is everything going okay? I hope. I hope family's all okay.
Why is we Indians never start with let's start?
No, so that's why the 30 minutes. So making the 30-minute blocks, it's just like, hey, hope things are okay. So let's get to it, right? So I mean, it becomes a much kind of quicker thing because it's a shorter meeting.
Look, I just hope this pandemic thing ends fast, because I think Mumbai is too small. The houses are too small. The acoustics are terrible. I mean, everything we do, everybody's sharing. It's like the Mahabharata. We're all living together in one group, like a small tribe. So I frankly can't wait. I love my family and all that, but we all need a little space. And I'm telling you, I'm not alone on this. Across India in the urban cities where people have small flats, everyone is saying, boss, mere ko thoda time dena. Uncle, the father wants to just go and walk the cow for half an hour. Just get out.
Well, I would kill to go and sit on a beach and have a beer.
I mean, look at Silvery, your beach. Okay, now
I want to get out. I want to get out of the house, right? I mean, I don't necessarily. I'm not I don't want to go party with people, but I want to get out. I want to do something different. I want a different view.
But look at this. We're doing our podcast. If we were in your studio doing it normally, one would never think about these things. But I'm always thinking, am I too loud? Because they start complaining. I have to be careful that I don't interfere with Maya's timing, because she has to help me do this recording, blah, blah, whatever. There's just too many other factors which give me anxiety. Right? I can't tell you how easy it is just sitting in the recording studio where I only worry about the lassi coming or not, frankly.
That is true.
Though
at this point, sir, it's 4 months in. You should probably know how to turn the computer on and plug in some headphones. I think 4 months in.
I can turn the computer on, but I take about 15 minutes to reach the Zoom thing, and then I can't understand that damn app thing, and I don't know how to record. And she hasn't told me. She told me she'll teach me over the weekend. Many weekends have passed, and I need to, because I'm worried post pandemic thing. We may have to do this from, say, one day I'm in Calcutta and we still want to do a podcast.
Yeah.
We can.
And then how we know we can?
Call the manager and say, hello, Mr. Desai, please come up and press play. Come on. It's not going to work.
So, you know what? When we do meet in person after so many months, that time I will sit and I will work with you on teaching you how to do this.
Really? It's so sad how the world changed and I wasn't looking. But Silvery, let's end this with you. Do you have one more AMA?
I have one more nice one I have.
Yeah.
Vinita Kishore sends this one in. She asks, hi Cyrus, Amit, Silvery. During the initial days of lockdown, the roads were empty whenever we went out for grocery shopping or went out for anything else. But now the roads are frankly quite crowded already. The one good thing, however, that I've seen during this is no more pan spits from rickshaw drivers. Thank God, at least something positive came out of these lockdowns. Do you think we have had any other positive takeaways like this during these times?
Oh, if you want to look at it from a positive point of view, there's plenty. The oxygen seems better. Living in South Mumbai and not seeing traffic. I can't speak for all of Bombay, but for us, that traffic is it's painful after some time. Areas like Parel, Marine Drive at certain times, if you go into the JJ flyover, that area at certain times. So you're just not seeing that as beautiful. And I just noticed how nice the buildings look. Some of the buildings are not that bad, especially deep in South Mumbai, which were built by the foreign hand. So I think there's plenty. The social distancing will help India. We've just been too close all the time. We had to create Bangladesh and Pakistan where you couldn't breathe. Like, come on, you go there, can't take it anymore. So I think social distancing, if it stays, will be good for everyone. All the women I've spoken to have said we're so happy that, Indian men will now be more worried about us than we were about them growing up because everyone's worried about this pandemic coming back. So that's a good thing. Well, initially it's good for the family. We all bonded. We spent a lot of time together. I'm worried about my dogs because I've never spent so much time with them and now they'll go berserk once I go because I do everything with them. But I can see Amit learned cooking. Silvery, you learned a little cooking on the side. More new skills had to be learned. Just, for me, I went back to masturbating because now I have even less space. So I have to do that in one corner of the toilet. Amit is completely not impressed with all this. Come on, man, get a sport. Play something.
No,
Playing with yourself is not a sport,
but I agree with you, right? I mean, there are a bunch of air quality, right? I mean, that's like a big one, right? I mean,
birds have returned.
Birds have returned. Nature is healing.
Right? I know you don't like pigeons, but I do.
Huh?
I'm saying I know you don't like pigeons, but I work out on the terrace, so I see it every day. It's so nice. I can see kites and crows and all missing. Yeah. The crows were still there to some extent, but there are much more of them. Pigeons are back. Sparrows are back. The sparrows are back. I've taken a break for a long time.
Sparrows are back after a really
I had a minor which came right. It's not MINOR, so don't call the police. MYNEAHA, I think it's something like that. On the balcony in the morning at like 5:30.
Nice.
Which is a beautiful looking bird.
So definitely,
yes,
I mean,
those are the birds I look at.
I think environmentally we are definitely positive, right? In the sense that it's a much.
So once a year pandemic should be good.
Well, it is something to think about, right? But
even if it's for society,
even if it's 7 days a year, right? I mean, think about how much
7 days won't get us much. You've got to get a month in.
Listen. After all of this shit, when we went down for the first 7 days, within the first 7 days, within the first week, you started saying nature is healing became a hashtag in that first week, right? Because pollution levels were coming down, because dust levels were coming down, because you started seeing more animals coming out and stuff like that, the urban wildlife. So I mean, it doesn't take that long for this shit to kind of reverse itself. Mm-hmm. So again, it's not going to be 4 months. It's not going to be the same like this, right? But it's nice to see a blue sky in Bombay.
Right. Yeah, and of course, that's a metaphor because that's something we rarely see.
Yeah. Well, we've had them for 4 months nearly now. I mean,
we're 4 months on this week. By the time this drops, your webisode or whatever, it'll be 4 months. And 4 months and counting. Let's not give people hope.
Yeah. 4 months. Our office has been shut for more than 4 months now. We shut on the 18th of March. So we've been 4 months plus shut.
There you go.
Yep. I've been to the office.
So does that mean you have to pay rent for 4 months or not?
Well, yeah, kind of.
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
You've been in that business. Even better.
Well, no, I mean, it's really not, right? I mean, because if you own property, your rents are collapsing.
True, but on the other hand, also you don't tend to anything. You just leave it now.
Well, I guess that's also
and expect them to still pay if they want to stay in.
So a lot of people are renegotiating, and a lot of people are abandoning leases in the middle of them. I mean, it's not uncommon to hear that either, right? I mean,
BKC, a few have happened, which is strange because that's where all the money power is. But Silvery is nodding out of sheer boredom, which means we have to wrap it up here. No. Silvery is going to lose a very good friend, stroke partner, male or female, in about a day or two. So. Yeah. I thought we should let him say the last few words. Is there a poem or a song or a nursery rhyme, granting your age, that comes to mind immediately? The pathos and anxiety and stress that you will now feel having to go back to your own family and fit in.
I'm just pretty sad. Although I'm looking forward to great sex in the next 2 days. So yeah, no, I'm just joking. Sorry.
No,
man.
You've got to elaborate now. We'd love to know more. In the words of Goswami, the nation really would want to know about this one.
It's just,
You're going back to your family to have great sex. I mean, even for Parsis, that's a low. What the hell are you talking about? But are you upset? Or on a serious note, are you really upset? Are you because your one solace in all this is having a good partner to chat with and hang out with?
Yeah, I've not been sadder in a while. It sucks pretty bad. But what are you gonna do? Such is
Here
life.
we have a tale of sad romance. They met during lockdown, but then she had to go back to her motherland, and he had to go back to his mother. Oops.
No, we've actually known each other for 3 years, but we started dating in this lockdown. We've
What?
We've been friends for like.
But out there during lockdown. Well played, brother.
Man, like so, it's a whole thing. I'll tell you some other time. Like we used to be.
We'll do a whole episode on you.
Yeah,
you deserve it.
We should. Let's bring her on one day. I don't
mind. During this awesome pandemic, you were able to convince her that this is the time to stay with me, the whole cause, when I can't earn a rupee and do anything. Excellent.
Exactly.
So I want to every day. Calls me all kinds of names. Oops, good news. Anyway, say bye to her from all of us. She's been on our show a couple of times with a couple of lines. So that only female presence has come and gone. Oh, I should say, you don't want to define who you're with because of your parents and family in Punjab, some village there, getting upset that you may have shacked up with a girl.
Yeah. No, but it's fine. We're discussing this at the end of the episode. I don't think my mother waits till the end of every episode.
You sit and edit anyway. I keep forgetting. Yeah. All right. Chalo. Okay, guys. Catch you soon. Back here. Lockdown. Month 5 starting now.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye. Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps. Please, we beg you. We need you. Send us your questions on Twitter on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
नमस्ते, मैं हूँ सौरभ चंद्रा
और मैं प्रणय कोटस्थाने।
जब महफिल खत्म होते होते दरवाजे के बाहर पुलिया के ऊपर हम दुनिया भर की जटिल समस्याओं को सॉल्व करने में लग जाते हैं तो हो जाती है पुलियाबाजी।
अब आजकल के अपार्टमेंट वालों ने तो कभी पुलिया देखी नहीं होगी, पर आप फीलिंग तो समझ ही सकते हैं।
तो आइए शामिल हो जाइए हमारी पुलियाबाजी में, जहां प्रणय और मैं एक से एक इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक्स की तह तक जाएंगे।
आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, बिटकॉइन, पाकिस्तान, मेडिकल एजुकेशन, करेंसी क्राइसिस, कभी हम दोनों के साथ और अक्सर स्पेशल एक्सपर्ट गेस्ट की कंपनी में।
सुनिए हमें IVM की वेबसाइट, ऐप या अपने फेवरेट पॉडकास्टिंग प्लेटफॉर्म पर हर दूसरे हफ्ते।
Hey everybody, we have a brand new podcast series by Bloomberg Quint called BQ Conversations, which covers a range of topics like business strategies, latest trends in technology such as cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, and also personal finance. Episodes are out on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you listen to podcasts.